Okay, so for this week's video, I'm just going through a video I recorded last week, didn't upload. And basically what I'm doing is I'm taking a bunch of thumbnail sketches and drawing them out so I can actually use them for finished artwork later. And my method is pretty simple. I start off with a Uni Posca 0.7 millimeter bold tip pen. And I basically do my thicker outlines and heavier lines with it. And then after I finish with that, I'll go into using my Unisigno and I'll fill in details and add a little texture and whatnot. The Poscas are good pens. The tips that I use, sometimes you can get a little wear and tear on them. They get like a little pinched. So you just gotta be a little careful with it. The Signos, the Uni Signos are really good pens. They're not as good as my favorites, which are the Uni Vision Elites and the regular Uni Ball Visions. But for the techniques that I use, which is basically doing these little scribble fills, they work really fine. They don't ever skip. They have a retractable tip, so you don't have to worry about losing the cap, or you can just sit here like I do and play with the clicky part all day and wear that out. But they're really good. Both of these pens scan really great. The Poscas are very dark. They're not as dark as Sumi ink or paint markers, but they're a water-based ink. They clean up well and they hold up really good, especially when you mix them with other media. I like them a lot. And here in this drawing, I'm doing the same thing, starting with the thick outline, and then I fill in my details. Now, on the mouth, you can tell I did a little thick, thin lines with the Posca, and that's another thing they're good at. Is each one of the pins in the line of Posca pins you can do thick, thin with, and they're pretty good. It just when you just have to watch out for those tips. If you mess the tip up, it becomes a little bit harder to control it. But other than that, they're still really great. That can be said about like any pin though that has a tip that you can wear down, especially felt tips. Yeah, you can give him a little nose hair. So I'm wondering what I'm going to name these little guys. I'm not going to use them for anything like major. They're just like little characters I can actually make different variants of. Let's see, I'm going back and signing my name here. Yeah, so for this one, you can see the thumbnail isn't actually the thumbnail, it's the finished art. So I'm going to go back and fix that real quick. Okay, that's better. So yeah, the thumbnail and the art, basically when you do your thumbnail sketches, you just get your idea down, and when whatever you use to finish your artwork with, that's what you use to finish your artwork with. You refine your idea and design. I think my first video on this channel, I talked about like sketchbooks, and I didn't really talk about thumbnailing. I have to go in detail. I'm planning on doing a video about using reference and inspiration and mood boards. And in that video, I'm going on Pinterest. I'm going to have a bunch of different artists I like on ArtStation and such. And I'm just going to sit there and talk about my particular take on the creative process and how you can correctly use the inspirations and influences around you to develop your own progress and style in art. Because one thing about having a lot of inspirations is it's cool to look at other people's art, but if that's all you do is look at other people's art, you're going to have a identity crisis because you're not going to know how to develop your own personal take on art. And of course, this is all after building fundamentals and such. All right. That one we're going to do later. We're going to make a big repeating texture. I'm going to take two pieces of huge drawing paper. I got to find a board first so I can hold it on and a good camera. And we're going to make a huge texture. But that's for another video. On this one, I'm about to restart this one because I don't get the uvula placed right where I want it. There we go. So for this one, I started in reverse and actually did the Signo first and then did a little fill with the Posca. The reason being is I'm going to take a thick vector line work on this one. And I don't want to have too much thick thin lines or a big bold line if I'm just going to add a big bold line on it. Draw some spit, sign the name, and it's done. Oh, well, never mind. It's not done. Details. And what I learned is just adding a few little details and texture marks goes a long way to keep your image looking from being too flat. So yeah, stack those up, and we're going to do one more, which when this horrible camera focuses back in, you'll be able to see. There we go. Don't worry, I retired this webcam. We're going to have a better webcam for future videos. So right here, I'm starting off with the grass. And this, I actually am doing guidelines for this one because I'm going to go back and texture this grass. I'm going to add some flowers and add the forest corn dog. And yes, I know those are cattails. Right? That's what they're called, right? Then we're going to go in, draw a rock. There we go. Give him a little friend. Put in some details. Add some weight. Hungeren, where's There we go. Draw a little rat. All right. And this should be the part where I detail. I'm going to get this pin started. That's going to be the bullet point Posca. You can tell I have a little problem getting it started. I might have had this one for a couple years and I just never finished it off. What I'm going to do is just add a little black scratchy lines for the grass texture. They're a little tricky to edit when you go to your digital manipulation stage. So whether you use Photoshop or the GNU image manipulation program, whatever you choose to use, it can be a little tricky getting those, but with a few tweaks to your settings, they can come out real easy. And it works the same way if you ever have to edit photos and do hair. Which I don't do too much photo editing. I do that at work, but for personal art, I don't really do as much as I used to. For personal and moral reasons, you know. There you go. Add those textures. You see a little bit of my hair. It was not very well kept in this video. I had a rough day that day. I fondly remember that. And another thing you notice, these pins dry really fast. I don't have a protective glove on my hand. So, I mean, I wouldn't try to purposely smear them, but they're pretty good pins. One of these days, we're going to have to review all these pins that I like. There's a bunch, but there's a few that reign supreme. And they're not the ones you think. All right, that should be all of them. So we got all those done. We'll be heading back to finish these later on a different date. And that will be it for this week. Thank you for watching if you actually made it all the way to the end. Really, all I can do is ask as humbly as I can, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It helps the algorithm. It keeps you up to date with what I make, and it helps my channel grow. You can donate to me on Patreon or PayPal. I haven't got any Patreon tills set up yet, but when we actually do start getting more people in on the channel and start growing the community, I'll start having Patreon rewards for everyone. There's also my website, Hungeren.com. And you can also find me on Instagram. So, again, thank you for watching. This has been Hungeren, and stay creative.